So the formation lap underway, and we are getting ready for what could be a fascinating final race of the weekend, the third race for the British Touring Cars here at Snetterton, and we are going to find out what happens very shortly. Let me just take you through once again the order for the lineup here. It's Sam Osborne and Aidan Moffat on the front row, both on soft tyres. Bobby Thompson and Andrew Watson on the second row. Hard tyre for Bobby, a wet tyre for Andrew Watson. So watch the start. It's going to be interesting from the second row on a wet tyre. Will that help? Mikey Doble on the third row with Tom Chilton, both on softs. On the fourth row, Josh Cook and Dan Camish. Josh on the soft slick tyre, Dan Camish on the hard. Then on the fifth row, Jake Hill on the wet tyre. So just the two drivers on the grid on the wet tyre. Jake's doing it, double winner so far this weekend. Then alongside him is Darryl De Leon on the mediums. On the sixth row, we have Scott Sumpton on the softs, Aaron Taylor-Smith on the hard. On the seventh row, Chris Smiley on the hard compound tyre, and Rob Huff on the soft. He may charge through from there. Colin Turkington starts on row 8 on the medium compound with his big rival, Tom Ingram, also on the same medium compound tyre. Daniel Rowbottom starts on row 9 with Adam Morgan, again, both on mediums. And then at the back of the grid, we have Ronan Pearson and Ashley Sutton. Both have had some very good results at times throughout the course of this year, but both are now starting at the back. Ronan on a hard tyre, Ashley on the medium. Very difficult tyre to see which is going to be the best for this one, and a very difficult race to predict. So we're just going to sit back and enjoy it and find out what happens. Who is going to take the third race win of the weekend in the British Touring Cars? We've seen Jake take the two victories so far, starting in car number 24 on the wet tyres. That does seem like that's going to be a challenge for him to actually come through to take a victory, but we will be finding out pretty soon. Sam Osborne starting up front, of course, from that pole position. Let's see how Sam does in the Napa Racing, Alliance Racing Ford Focus. No podiums for him so far this year, whereas Aidan Moffat, who is alongside him on the front row of the grid, did have that race 3 victory at Donington to start off the season. Aidan's had a bit of a tough time, though. The competitiveness has sometimes worked, sometimes hasn't, and so he'll be very happy to be up on the front row. And we do know that sometimes that outside front row on the soft tyre can be a good place to get away from. I'll be fascinated to see the actual racing start of Andrew Watson from 4th and Jake Hill from 9th on the wet tyre. In theory, they're obviously going to have a bit more traction. Jake in the rear-wheel drive BMW off the line, that could work very well. He may be able to claim a few places going up towards the first corner. But will being on the wet tyre actually work as this track dries up with these touring cars going flat out through all of the corners and spraying up any water that is still around?
Interesting fact very quickly from Mickey Butler from Goodyear. In all the years he has been involved with the BTCC, he has never had a grid lineup with every possible combination of tyres represented on the grid.
That is fascinating. Well, let's find out how this is going to work. Such a mix of tyres, such a mix of drivers in different places, with Ash Sutton, our championship leader, all the way down at the back of the grid in 20th place. How far can Ash Sutton get from there? That is going to be one of the most fascinating moments of this entire race, this final last race that we've got of the day. Let's find out. The green flag is flying from the back. The final BTCC race at Snetterton. It's underway, and off the line they go. And actually, it's a good start from Sam Osborne, the pole man, making the initial getaway. But Jake Hill has made a very good start on the wet tyres. There's no doubt about it. Watch out for the number 24 and also for the number 11. They're actually side by side. The two on the wet tyres going around the outside. Oh, no! A spin there for the man on top. Sam Osborne, the man who was on pole position. And Jake Hill had to back out as a result of that spin happening just in front of him. Thankfully, Sam Osborne's got it back on, and he has managed to avoid anything, and it means that Aidan Moffat has taken the lead. We were wondering how Aidan would get on. Bobby Thompson currently in second place, the number 19 BMW, but he's being chased by his effective teammate Jake Hill, who won the earlier two races. He's on the wet tyre, and he's going to be able to take second place, I think, under braking on the wet surface. Yes, he's got the grip under braking. He's got the grip on acceleration, but the track is drying up very quickly. So will being on the wet tyres actually work for the full duration of this race? That is going to be another story, another spin. Smiley who's lost it, Chris Smiley. Oh, and it's a damage to the car. There's been big hit. and that may cause a safety car, because to get that car, he's trying to get it out of the way now, but to make that a safety, they may well have to bring the safety car out on this lap. We shall wait and see how that goes. Right now, they are still charging down the back, and right now it is still Aidan Moffat who has the advantage at this stage. Is he going to be able to hold on to it? That's the question, with the wet tyres on the BMW of Jake Hill behind. We shall see Thompson going across the grass there. We've seen a few people do that, and has lost a few places as a result. Into the lead goes Jake Hill. The wet tyres are working perfectly down at that bottom end of the track, and also moving up on the wet tyres, it is Andrew Watson. He is quickly gaining places. Yep, he's just managed to find a way past Aidan Moffat as well. So, wet tyres are on the top two cars now at the end of this first lap. And Jake Hill is opening up a massive advantage. He needs to, because, of course, as we go through this race, it may be the slick tyres that are actually much more effective. But right now, the wet tyres are working. Jake Hill leads from Andrew Watson in second place. Just having a quick look at what happened to Sam Osborne. My goodness, that was lucky that nobody hit him when he spun at the first corner. And Jake Hill very, very nearly hit him. Thankfully, he was able to brake and get out of the way. But that could have ended up very, very differently from what we have right now, because Jake Hill is now the race leader. We've seen one or two other little incidents. Oh, there was contact. Rob Huff made contact with De Leon, and then actually that ended up was what putting Smiley out. So it was like a slightly separate thing for him, I think. The fact that he got pushed out in the end, and it was just an unfortunate contact between a group of cars there. It's a first lap incident that's pretty typical, and you can't do much about it. So Jake Hill has the advantage on the wet tyres, and we will see how this goes as the race develops. It may well be that those on slick tyres. Now, how are the others getting on from further back? Ash Sutton, who started at the back, already up into 12th position. So a brilliant move up the order. We've got Ingram up into 7th place. Tom Ingram up into 7th place. Turkington has not been able to do so much. Colin Turkington, he's down in 13th position. So it hasn't worked quite so well for Colin Turkington. So for those big championship contenders, there's no doubt that Sutton has done extremely well from the very, very back of the grid. And he's moved up extremely effectively. Rob Huff is also moving up the order as well. Ash Sutton has now got himself just outside the top 10. So that's impressive. Ash Sutton, who started from the back, and we wondered how far he was going to be able to get in this early stage. Well, very early on, he's almost into the top 10. Meanwhile, Rob Huff, number 12, currently in 6th place and being chased hard by Tom Ingram, one of the major championship contenders at this point, and not far behind them. We will see Sutton in the next group trying to move up. Turkington all the way down in 13th. Jake Hill has just crossed the line with a 2-minute 8.9. A very good lap. We saw a big slide, a big moment for Josh Cook a moment ago. Managed to sort himself out, but then not doing so well was Mikey Doble, who lost it. Thankfully kept off the barrier and is still continuing. So Hill still has the advantage by 2.6 seconds on the wet tyres over another man on wet tyres. That is Andrew Watson in 2nd place. Moffat is 3rd. Josh Cook currently in 4th place. Tom Chilton going well in 5th position. But we are seeing others moving up the order right now. Rob Huff currently in that 6th place. Now, Rob is on the soft tyre. He started all the way down in 14th place. But Rob Huff already up into 6th position. Colin Turkington struggling a little bit more. He's trying to find a way to get back past Dan Camish, actually, because a moment ago he was in front of Camish. So this is not working out particularly well for the man who had such a good run at Brands Hatch this weekend at Snetterton. Is not working so effectively for the very experienced 4-time BTCC champion, and fighting, of course, against Ash Sutton to become the first 5th-time ever British Touring Car champion. Ash Sutton's that bit further up the order. Ash currently in 9th position and trying to move further up into the top 10. Jake Hill on the wet tyres is still putting together some good sector times, although I am beginning to see slick tyres showing slightly faster times, particularly in the first sector. Rob Huff setting a personal best, but also an overall best first sector on the slick tyres. And also I've just seen actually Aidan Moffat, who's also on soft tyres. He's just done a fastest middle sector. So that the slicks are beginning to come into play now already. And we're only on lap 3 out of 12. So the order that we've got up front at the moment, Jake Hill from Andrew Watson, this is an order that may not last for a lot longer. It all depends on how quickly these slicks are coming into play, but they are definitely starting to work quite effectively. Tom Chilton at this stage, he's on a set of softs, as is Rob Huff, and the soft slicks are definitely the ones to want to be on at this stage. Behind them, Tom Ingram on the mediums. He does not have quite the same level of pace. You can see that. Jake Hill, can he look after these wet tyres? Can he keep them cool in some areas of the circuit, or are they going to be completely worn out by the end of this race? That's the big question. In some places there's no water to actually run over to cool the tyres. It's so dry in some areas. Turkington has managed, I think, to get back past Camish. Yes, he has, and going rather slow at the moment. Dan Rowbottom, he seems to have a bit of an issue with his car, and he's taking it very, very steady indeed. So I think Dan Rowbottom in a bit of trouble. We saw the problem also earlier for Chris Smiley, who's no longer a part of this race. And yeah, there's obviously an issue on Rowbottom's
right
car.
front tyre, I think.
Okay, yeah, he's coming back into the pit, so we might be able to see him go back out again. And
Just about to come past me now, Ben, and
okay.
I can confirm. Yeah, he's got no rubber on the right front of the car.
Okay, well, that makes life difficult, but he's got it back to the pits, which is the all-important thing. Jake Hill is still our race leader. He did a 2-minute 8 last time, in fact, a 2-minute 9 second lap last time around, so let's keep an eye on what those lap times are going to be. Still not a huge difference between the wets and the dries currently, but I am beginning to see, as I say, those sector times going the way of those on the soft, slick tyres. They are the ones that are working quite well. Rob Huff again, fast in the first sector and fastest in the middle sector now by as much as 2 seconds versus Jake Hill. So we are looking for Rob Huff to continue to move up the order a little bit. He is with Chilton though, and Chilton is also putting together some good laps on the soft tyres currently, and there's an opportunity for several places here to make a bit of a gain. Mikey Doble, he's trying to move up the order at this stage in the number 88 car. Whether Mikey's going to be able to get past Dan Camish, I'm not sure. Jake Hill is our race leader. Let's see what the gap is as they come over the line this time. He still has a comfortable lead over Andrew Watson, but Watson is now coming under a bit of pressure from the likes of Aidan Moffat, from Josh Cook and Rob Huff. Rob Huff is really picking up that pace now. He's in 5th place. He has just set the fastest lap of the race, 2:06, and that is nearly 3 seconds faster than Jake Hill. That's the difference in lap time now from a soft slick tyre to the wet tyre, 3 seconds a lap. Rob Huff is in extremely good form, but he's not the only one on soft tyres, because Josh Cook up ahead of him is still on the softs, as is Aidan Moffat, who started from the front row. And Aidan Moffat is now, I think, beginning to catch up to Andrew Watson. The gap had been a couple of seconds, but it is coming down. Yeah, the slick tyres are working. There is no doubt about it. For Colin Turkington, this battle that he's been having with Dan Camish, managed to get alongside and ease past, coming up the start-finish straight. And Colin Turkington trying to score himself some more points with his big rivals also doing the same. But Turkington currently in 11th place, Ash Sutton in 8th, and Tom Ingram in 7th. And Jake Hill, of course, one of the other big rivals, he's currently leading this race. But for how long is he going to be able to do that on the wet tyres? He's opened up a good gap over Watson, who's also on the wet tyres, so that will help to a certain extent. Turkington coming up against Bobby Thompson, both in the BMWs. Thompson in his first event this weekend, but been doing a great job. But you can see Turkington's got some good pace here, and the hybrid effect, I think, certainly working for him, being able to use that maybe, and Turkington able, therefore, to gain another position. So Turkington back up into the top 10 now, and a chance for him to gain a few more places. But bear in mind, he's on the medium compound tyre. He's not on the soft, which is really the one that is the advantage. Now, we've seen a change for second. Aidan Moffat on the slicks has moved up into second position now. So, as we expected, the cars on the slick tyres, and Rob Huff now trying to make a move on Josh Cook. He's up on the outside as they come over the line. Josh Cook holding on at this stage to 5th place, but Rob Huff trying to take that position. In fact, it was Huff who was fraction over at the line, but he's still behind him, and that was a big slide from Aidan Moffat just a moment ago. They are all catching up to the race leader. Oh, side by side, Josh Cook and Rob Huff. Rob Huff has that inside line through the hairpin, and he is up ahead of him now. He's managed to make a sneak through, and Josh Cook has now got to be defensive. Actually, so of Rob Huff, it's still the battle between, they're actually trying to get past Andrew Watson. So Andrew Watson, Huff's teammate, on the wet tyres, is the one they're all under attack. Josh Cook's managed to nip past. Rob Huff trying to do the same, and now trying to get past Cook. Little touch, but he hasn't managed to do it. So now those wet tyres are definitely struggling. Jake Hill is still out in front at the moment, but for how long? Remember, Jake did start all the way down in 9th position, got up in front on the wet tyres, but as we're getting towards half distance in this race and the track is drying up more and more, those tyres are wearing out, whereas the slick tyres are now getting onto a surface that suits them extremely well. Moffat in 2nd place. There's Rowbottom in that group, but he's not in the battle. Rowbottom had to come into the pits, have another tyre fitted, of course. So Rowbottom, you can see the car in that group, number 32, but he's not a part of it. And there was a big slide for Josh Cook. I wondered if Rob Huff was going to be able to take advantage of that in their battle for 3rd position at this stage. Don't think he can. And Rowbottom is the car they're trying to get past, even though he's not in the order. And I think he's moving out of their way. Yeah, he's moved out of their way to give them an opportunity to go through. And we have seen a little nudge from Rob Huff on the back of the car there, but it has sorted out, no problems. Jake Hill is still our race leader. He did have an advantage of 7.5 seconds last time around. Let's see what the lead advantage is. It's still a big lead. There's no doubt. Aidan Moffat goes across the line 6.9 seconds behind. Still a long way to go to try and close up that gap. Meanwhile, Rob Huff has still not found a way past Josh Cook. Remember, they are both on the soft, slick tyres. It's working well for both of them, making it difficult to make any big challenges. Ash Sutton is still down in 8th position. Tom Ingram is in 6th place. There's no doubt that Andrew Watson on the wet tyres is now struggling a little bit. He's dropped down to 5th place. But for the other one on wet tyres, Jake Hill, that gap is still holding out pretty well at this point. And the question is whether he's going to be able to stay in front. They are gradually bringing it down. It was well over 6 seconds. It's now down to 5 seconds. So each sector now, they could be gaining as much as a second per sector. Tom Ingram now ahead of Watson. So Tom Ingram up into an important 5th position. And Andrew Watson dropping away now on those wet tyres. It was worth a risk, but it's not working out for him. And it does make you feel it's not going to work out for Jake Hill, who's trying to make it 3 out of 3 victories here at Snetterton, which would be remarkable and actually would probably put him to the top of the table. But I'm not sure that's going to be capable because they are definitely catching him. And those wet tyres, are they going to last the full distance? It might be that he gets a puncture late in the race because they will be wearing hard. Oh, Rob Huff out onto the grass. Was that a push out or was that just the way it went? His battle with Josh Cook, and they come back together once. Actually, no, that was with Moffat. So that was the battle going on with Moffat, and they are still battling away there with Josh Cook joining in as well. So that was a chance for Rob Huff, but he's got a lot of grass in the front radiator area.
Maybe too much grass, Ben.
Yeah, that could be an overheat problem. We'll have to wait and see how that goes over the next few laps. Jake Hill's lead.
In fairness, the manoeuvre, he got past Josh Cook by going on the grass. So there are multiple question marks in my mind.
Yeah, I agree. We'll have to take another look at that at some point. Jake Hill's lead down to 4.8 seconds now. We'll see whether he is still being caught. Moffat in 2nd place. Aidan Moffat under that pressure from Rob Huff with Josh Cook behind. Tom Ingram in 5th place. 6th place for Tom Chilton. Then Ash Sutton holding on to 7th position, and some useful points for him after a difficult second race here at Snetterton. Meanwhile, Watson down to 8th place now. Turkington has just set the fastest lap. He is in 10th position. He's on the medium compound tyre. intriguing that on the medium tyre now he's setting fastest lap as we go deeper and deeper into the race. Does that mean, for example, that the soft tyre is now beginning to take a little bit of wear as well? Will the medium compound tyre be stronger? We shall see. There are quite a few people on the medium tyre, including Tom Ingram, as high as 5th in this race at this stage. For now, it's still Jake Hill, but we can see how much closer they are getting. Aidan Moffat getting closer and closer to the race leader. The gap coming down all the time now. It's less than 3 seconds down the main straight. They're catching more and more, and Jake Hill now is beginning to come under pressure already from having such a healthy lead in this race. But we are on lap 8 out of 12. The early stages worked on the wets, but it is not working now so well on the wets. The slick tyres on the cars in second and third are much more effective, and for all of those cars behind, really, Watson is dropping further and further. The only other car on the wet tyres dropping way down the order now, and it's all about the slide. Was there contact there? I think there might have been a little touch between them. I'd have to have another look, but that means Rob Huff has now moved up into second place. He has gone past Aidan Moffat. Moffat has his own teammate right behind now, Josh Cook, trying to take the place. But Rob Huff is in very, very determined form, and he is the one who's now chasing after Jake Hill as they go over the line. We're on to lap 9 out of 12, and Rob Huff, who started in 14th place, is up against Jake Hill, who started in 9th position. Just taking a little look back at the no, it wasn't contact. It was a slide from Moffat. He was actually trying to take a defensive line, but he was on the wet. That was the problem. He put himself on the wet surface trying to be in a defensive position, lost the back end, and that gave the gap to Rob Huff. So that was a perfectly clean manoeuvre, and it has now put Rob Huff in an opportunity to go for the lead. And Rob Huff gets alongside Jake Hill. He's going to go for it. Down the inside, this should be a fairly straightforward pass. It is. And Rob Huff takes the lead of a British touring car race. Now that he is back in the championship after many, many years away, he has taken the lead here at Snetterton, his home track in many ways. Based in Cambridgeshire, born in that area, out of that area for a while in different parts of the world, back there now. What a place to be for him. Jake Hill losing place after place now, with Aidan Moffat going past, Josh Cook going past. That gamble to run on the wet tyres, well, it looked like it might work. Let's see what he gets out of it. Let's see whether he's still going to be able to score top 10 points or maybe top 15 points. Let's see whether he can do that. I think that's going to be an effort. I think he's going to be passed by a big number of cars. But right now, what an opportunity this is for Rob Huff, making his return to British touring cars this year, and having had a bit of a challenging time, but now he is right on target. Aidan Moffat battling away with his own teammate Josh Cook for what is second position at this stage, trying to be cautious through that slippery section. We had a huge sideways moment last time around, and he will be deeply frustrated with himself for that, because it certainly allowed Rob through, and now he's under some massive pressure from Josh Cook, his teammate. Josh trying to get the good exit, and he may have a decent run here. Josh on the outside as they come up across the start-finish line. We are on lap 10 now, out of 12, with the lead to Rob Huff, and the battle for second place being extremely tight between the man who won at Donington earlier this year in Aidan Moffat and Josh Cook, who has had some good results this year. He's had 2 podiums, certainly on target for another podium, but which of them is going to get the higher spot? That is still a big question. Who else is moving up or down? Well, Hill is still in 4th, but he's now under pressure from one of his big title rivals, Tom Ingram, and I would imagine that Tom Ingram is going to be able to get through fairly quickly now on the slick tyres. Chilton is still chasing behind in 6th place. Here we go, Tom Ingram going side by side with Jake, and he does take the place. Tom Ingram moves up into 4th position, having started from 16th on the grid. That is a big climb up the order for a man fighting for championship points. Jake's a part of that as well, of course, and Chilton is behind them in 6th place. Ash Sutton could well be another threat for Jake Hill any moment coming up. Rob Huff has set the fastest lap in this race now, 2-minute 3.960. It's not the full dry level of lap time when we see them in the 1-minute 54s in full dry levels, but still the track is getting drier and drier, and they are getting more and more pace out of these cars. And Turkington, well, he's currently in 8th position now. So he is just one place behind his big rival, Ash Sutton. So in terms of championship points, this is all going to make things very, very close. You've got Ingram in 4th, Jake Hill in 5th place now, Ash Sutton in 7th, Colin Turkington in 8th. Those are the top 4 in the championship, and they're all in that sort of middle to last element of the top 10 currently. Josh Cook still trying to find a way past his teammate. The battle for 2nd place still on between Aidan Moffat and Josh Cook. And Moffat with that little bit more hybrid use. So there may be the edge for Moffat to hold on to that position. He still has a bit more hybrid power available, the extra 60 horsepower that helps you in different key areas around the lap when you decide to use it. And he had a little bit more of it available because of the rule system, all depending on how you finished in the previous race. Allows you either less or more of that hybrid power in the final race. Oh, big wide line for Dan Rowbottom, who's actually running way down the list because he had to come into the pits earlier, and that is his teammate Ash Sutton just going past. But Ash Sutton now is right up there with Tom Chilton, and both of them are right behind Jake Hill. We're going to see Jake dropping a few more places here. We are on lap 11 out of 12. It's just a question of can Jake hold it together to still score some vital points here. Having taken the risk, he's trying to break as late as possible, but Tom Chilton is trying to go around the outside and Ash Sutton on the inside. He gets passed on both sides. No surprise, really. Those wet tyres, they are struggling, and Ash Sutton has gained a position. He's got past Tom Chilton. That was clever, clever stuff. Chilton went for the outside line, and Ash Sutton thought, right, okay, I'm going down the inside. And not did he only get past Jake Hill, but he got also past Tom Chilton, who he's been battling with for several laps. So well done. That means now, of course, that Jake Hill has dropped a couple more places, and this is going to be hard for him to still score some points at the end of this race. But it's not impossible. He's got to keep it going. Hope those tyres can just hang on in there for a little bit longer to still score useful points. Those other top drivers that struggled last time in the previous race, like Ash Sutton, remember he started right at the back of the grid in this race. Sutton now up into 5th place. That is a big, big climb up through the order. His big rival Tom Ingram is still up ahead of him, just a little further ahead, several seconds up the road. And Rob Huff is still absolutely on target at the moment in the front running position, some 2 seconds ahead. Oh, nearly contact again, and there's a chance for Chilton to get that place back. Ash Sutton's having to fight hard to hold on to that position. Tom Chilton absolutely determined in his Accelerate Hyundai that he's going to be able to get past the Ford Focus, but can he? Because the inside line now for Ash Sutton gives the Ford the advantage going into Riches, and that does make life a little tricky. So Sutton, for the moment, does hold on to that 5th place, going one way, then the other way. Chilton trying everything, and in the background, Jake Hill is about to be passed by his teammate Colin Turkington. So I think Jake's about to lose another place. We are on the final lap, and Rob Huff, whose last ever win in British touring cars was at Snetterton in 2004. Would you believe it looks like his first win back in British touring cars after a huge gap in his campaign of racing in the World Touring Car Championship and all over the world in different forms of touring car racing. And it does look as though his first win is going to come back here at Snetterton, his local track, on a different layout completely to how it was when he last won here in 2004. It was the 2-mile version. Nowadays, of course, it's the longer 3-mile version. But Rob Huff is absolutely on target to take his first win since he's come back after these many, many years of being away from British touring cars. What a wonderful opportunity this is for him. So 20 years later, since he had a win here at Snetterton, he is about to take victory. 2nd place being held on for Aidan Moffat. 3rd place for Josh Cook. 4th place for Tom Ingram, and a fastest lap from Tom Ingram as well. So another useful extra point. Ash Sutton is currently in 5th place. The final corner. It's looking good. It's looking good for the Cambridge-based star of touring cars making its return this year. It is Rob Huff who takes the victory in race 3 at Snetterton. coming back to the top level of British touring cars in 20 years gap. Wow, second place goes to Moffat. Cook takes third. Tom Ingram is holding on to take fourth place. Ash Sutton in fifth. Tom Chilton in sixth place. Colin Turkington in seventh. Where is Jake Hill? Thompson comes across the line eighth. Jake Hill in ninth. I think actually Jake did a remarkable job in the end to come home in ninth place, having chosen the wet tyres. That was absolutely brilliant what he did. The other driver on wet tyres, Watson, out of the points, down a little further in 16th place, I think, by the look of it, by the time he comes over the line. But Jake Hill had to give up some of those places, no doubt about it. There wasn't a chance to get the 3 wins in a row in the end, having led it in the early stages. But many, many congratulations to Rob Huff, to the Speedworks Toyota Gazoo Racing team, and that is him taking victory. Well, a fabulous performance indeed. And Rob making his return to victory. That's his third ever win, but the first since 2004 Snetterton. So a long, long time ago since he's taken a victory. He's had many wins in World Touring Cars over the years, 30 victories in his career. And he's been a champion in Sweden, for example, in 2020 in a VW Golf. He's raced at Macau so many times, many, many victories at Macau. He's become a true hero of racing there. But what a return to him. It's been a bit of a difficult start to the season, there's no doubt about it. And that's actually his first podium of the season as well. But it's a victory. It's a victory. And it was beautifully done from a long way down on the grid. Remember, he started down in 14th place on the grid for that one, and he's taken the win. Rob Huff, the winner, from Aidan Moffat in second place. Josh Cook in third. Tom Ingram finished in fourth place, climbing away up from 16th on the grid. And Ashley Sutton, from the very back of the grid, finished fifth. Tom Chilton sixth. Colin Turkington seventh. Bobby Thompson eighth. And the leader for so long, Jake Hill, in ninth place, with Mikey Doble in 10th, Adam Morgan in 11th from Darrell de Leon, Dan Camish, Sam Osborne, Aaron Taylor-Smith, Andrew Watson on the other wet tyres, only 16th in the end, Scott Sumpton, Ronan Pearson, and the others finishing out the list. But a really remarkable race, and we did wonder how that was going to go with these changing conditions that we have had throughout the course of the day. Well done to Jake Hill for scoring some crucial points nonetheless. Even though he led for so many laps, it must feel a bit frustrating to have ended up finishing in ninth place. But I do think that was a remarkable performance to still score so well and be still in the mix when the likes of his big rivals in the championship, for example, Tom Ingram was fourth, Sutton was fifth, and Turkington was in seventh place. He still managed to get that ninth place finish, and it means Ash Sutton has a 10-point lead over Colin Turkington. Tom Ingram is 1 point further back, so is Jake Hill. 11 points separating those top four now. That is amazing, and I just think those top four are going to be the ones battling for the title all the way through. Josh Cook, mind you, is not too far away and doing an excellent job with another fine podium finish here today. He finished in third place, and Josh Cook must not be knocked out as a potential contender for the championship. But it really, at the moment, still looks like it's those same top four that we've kind of watched throughout the season in taking victories. And ironically, Ash Sutton still hasn't won a race.
Technical checks are all complete, Ben, and you can hear how excited the crowd are in the background. A fist in the air for Huffy. He's beaming inside the car, shakes his head. The ITV cameras are here, and is just unstrapping himself, just taking down the netting. The door is going to open. He goes through the various procedures to turn the car off, and he emerges slowly, shakes his head, 2 fists in the air, bashes the roof. That'll easily pop out, I reckon. And Huffy is a winner again in the BTCC here at Snetterton. Big hugs happening now for Rob Huff. And he goes over now to his partner, to Annabelle, and gives her a big hug. She's been so excited to welcome Huffy back to Park Fairmay. Still got his helmet on, a hug with Bob Moffat as well. And Aidan climbs out of the car. He gets a big cheer. It's all very Toyota up here. And a thumbs up to the camera for Aidan Moffat. And they all jostle for a hug, but the winner of that is Rob Huff, because a big hug with Rob Huff. Are you in a break? Okay, very good. ITV are in a break, and that means I can maybe get a word with Huffy. And talking to the team at the moment, Josh Cook appears in Park Fairmay. Mikey Doble will as well. Helmet comes off for Huffy, and an exhalation of breath. Off comes the harness. It's hot work inside those cars. It's a muggy day. Off comes the balaclava. On goes the cap. Huffy, you're a winner in the BTCC again, 20 years on.
Looks like we're back, doesn't it? Thank you.
He's back.
Yeah, man, I didn't even know we were in the lead. I genuinely had no idea we were in the lead. I didn't know where we were. I knew we were coming through. But yeah, literally, it was only when I crossed the line that I even thought about it. But yeah, fantastic. I mean,
It was
mega.
a thing to savour, wasn't it, with the conditions at the start of the race. You saw what tyre you had on board, and you were absolutely carving through.
Yeah, I think we deserved that one. Obviously had a bit of side-by-side with Josh down under the bridge, but he was sliding over into me and I had nowhere to go other than to cut the grass. I backed off, let Aidan back past.
I was then worried about the amount of grass you had in the front of the car.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, there was nothing I could do about that other than keep driving and keep an eye on the temperature of everything, but yeah, mega.
It was just brilliant. Huffy, enjoy the moment. Aidan Moffat, quite a lot of Toyotas down here.
Yeah, it's a shame I gave it away, how I gave it away, isn't it? You know, Rob's it just had it so hooked up on the wet section, and I had,
Blinding to watch, wasn't it?
yeah, I just had no front end on the wet section, you know, and he got a bit close, so I had no choice but to defend, and then I thought, oh well, I'm in the wall.
It was such a moment for you, wasn't it?
I don't know how it looked on telly, but
Spectacular.
felt that, plus I'm in the car. Yeah, I think new boxers for the journey home.
Yes, I think you might be right. Let me talk to Josh, because he just came over to Rob, gave him a hug with Bob Moffat and Josh now, and I saw you giving Rob the look. I mean, you two were battling away so beautifully.
Yeah, no, it was a good race. Obviously, first of all, really pleased for the team. Obviously, a 1, 2, 3 is just amazing. So, huge credit to them. Yeah, my day didn't quite pan out as I wanted it to, but with 2 podiums, we can't be too disappointed. I think the lack of hybrid at the end really sort of hindered me a little bit, but ultimately the pace and the balance of the car was beautiful on the dry stuff. So yeah, I think today we can be really happy as a team that we've come away with some strong points, and yeah, a nice little bit of momentum heading to my home track.
Well done, Josh. Oh yeah, King of Thruxton. Just a couple of weeks' time before the BTCC moves on to the circuit that Josh absolutely excels at, and that is Thruxton in Hampshire. Mikey Doble will be on the podium as well. Podium is coming up soon. ITV will take the drivers for interview. I'm heading over towards the podium.